In the year 1704, the mariner Alexander Selkirk found himself locked in a fierce and heated confrontation with the captain of the Cinque Ports, arguing vehemently over the vessel's unseaworthy condition until he was finally abandoned to his own fate. With his destiny sealed by his own defiance, Selkirk was lowered into a small wooden boat carrying nothing but his musket, a sharp knife, and a simple iron cooking pot as he watched his only connection to the civilized world drift slowly toward the distant horizon. Standing upon the jagged and unforgiving shores of the remote Mars, a Tierra island, Selkirk watched the ship fade into a tiny speck, leaving him entirely alone to face the brutal reality of the vast and silent Pacific Ocean. As the golden sun dipped below the surface of the water, he began the daunting task of scavenging for resources under the towering shadows of the island's steep and rugged volcanic cliffs, while the chilling night wind began to howl. Through the dense and suffocating tropical thickets, Selkirk labored relentlessly to construct a humble shelter using nothing but his own bare hands and the abundant timber found deep within the heart of the ancient and wild forest. To survive the harsh and unpredictable climate, he mastered the difficult art of tracking wild goats that roamed the treacherous mountainsides, skillfully repurposing their thick hides into crude but essential garments to shield himself from the freezing mountain air. When a relentless plague of rats threatened to consume his meager food supplies, he cleverly sought out the island's feral cats, forming an unlikely and desperate bond that provided him with much-needed warmth and silent companionship. Each passing day became a rhythmic and grueling struggle as he gathered armfuls of dry firewood and tended to the glowing embers of his cooking fire, ensuring he could always prepare his limited daily ration of wild meat. To keep his fragile mind from fraying under the crushing weight of absolute silence, he turned constantly to his worn and tattered Bible, reading passages aloud until his resonant voice echoed throughout the lonely and haunting wilderness. Unwavering determination fueled his exhausting daily routine as he pushed his weary body to the absolute limit, running across the most treacherous mountain paths imaginable to maintain his peak physical and mental strength. Hope suddenly ignited in his chest when a large merchant ship appeared on the distant horizon, but despite his frantic and desperate signals, the vessel remained completely oblivious and continued on its way, ignoring the castaway sailors. Collapsing onto the damp sand in a fit of uncontrollable grief, he felt the heavy and suffocating burden of his prolonged isolation as the vessel vanished entirely, leaving him once again to face the dark and indifferent ocean. By the year 1707, his transformation into a creature of the wild was finally complete. His hair had grown long and tangled, and his clothing was fashioned entirely from the coarse skins of his many wild goat companions. He established a strictly disciplined life, managing 2 separate and functional huts for sleeping and cooking, while he carefully stockpiled large quantities of wild fruits to ensure he could survive the harsh and unpredictable winter seasons. He spoke to his loyal feline friends as if they were his own kin, finding a strange and quiet solace in their constant presence within the protected walls of his isolated island sanctuary. In the early days of February 1709, he saw the unmistakable white sails of the Duke, and he knew deep in his soul that this was the definitive moment of salvation he had prayed for since his arrival years before. As the professional rescue party rowed their boat toward the rocky beach, they were deeply startled by the sight of a wild bearded man emerging from the dense woods with incredible and almost supernatural agility. He stepped firmly into the longboat and cast a final lingering look at the humble huts that had been his only home for 4 long, grueling and transformative years. Once safely aboard the deck of the Duke, he recounted his truly incredible tale of survival to Captain Woods Rogers, while finally shedding the tattered rags of his long and primitive island existence. Today, the rugged and beautiful peaks of the Juan Fernandez archipelago stand as a timeless and majestic monument to the endurance and spirit of a man who courageously conquered his own solitude.